Right, let's have a quick look at my central heating system, the heart of which is this wood-fired stove, the Stratford TF90. That's made by a radiator down at Bridport in Dorset. The 90 stands for 90,000 BTU, or if you prefer the metric equivalent, that's 28.5 kilowatts. Of that, 4.5 kilowatts is directed into the room, and the other 24 kilowatts is directed into the back boiler. From the back boiler, the hot water goes on the flow side, goes up the left-hand copper pipe you can see there, up through the ceiling and into the neutralizer, and the cold water return comes back down the right-hand pipe through the side wall in the fireplace and then back down into the base of the water jacket. You can just see there I've got a temperature gauge on there which gives me the temperature of the flow side of the water, so I know what temperature of water I'm supplying to the neutralizer. The stove itself is controlled by two controls. The primary air, which is on this rotating knob here, that operates a thermostatically actuated flap which provides the primary air to the bottom. If the water jacket temperature gets above a preset temperature, it starts to automatically close the flap down on that primary air supply. The secondary air is controlled with this small slider over here, and that's just a manual control. It has no link into the thermostat. When I'm burning wood, I tend to have this one on fully open, and the primary air control down at about 3 or 4, goes up to a maximum of 8. This particular stove is not one of the high efficiency models with a lot of preheated air. Most of the air is just, for the secondary burn, is taken straight in from the front of the stove here. It gets warmed up by a small chamber in the back here before going into the fire. But it doesn't have a very efficient burn compared to some of the more advanced models. They claim 75% efficiency from this stove. A lot of that is attributed to the fact that the combustion temperature is kept down by the fact you have a large water jacket around the combustion chamber. One of the beauties of having a large capacity log burn is the fact that the size of the wood you can put in is quite big. This is a 50 centimetre long piece of hardwood timber which is from down at the docks. This is just scrap wood which I use. And this fits in quite comfortably. Probably get a slightly bigger piece in if you needed to, but that's the size they come in. Pre-cut, very easy for me, quite happy to do that. Fill up the boot when we're down at work, bring it back, stick it on the stove. So a quick look in the control room, or as my wife likes to call it, the cubby hole. And in the foreground, the smaller hot water cylinder you can see, which has just over 100 litres capacity. That's the preheating tank, which is heated by a couple of solar heating panels which we have on the roof. This time of the year, in the middle of winter, not much happening there at all. The tank in the background is the main hot water cylinder, which receives its primary heating from either the oil boiler when that's on, or at the moment when the wood stove's on. So the hot water comes up through these 28mm primary flow pipe into the neutralizer, and then the 28mm return is on the bottom. And coming in also on further around on this side here is a 22mm flow side from the oil boiler and a 22mm return. It's a pretty simple thing, this neutralizer. It's just a small drum. Relies on the fact that hot water will sit at the top of the neutralizer unit, and then you've got takeoffs for the central heating radiators and the underfloor heating, which is around the back. Those are drawn off at the top, and the cold water is returned in at the bottom. There's no moving parts. It just, as I say, a very simple gravity controlled device. So just a quick look at the underfloor heating manifold control. It's pretty stock standard stuff, no different. The only real difference is that we have 10mm pipes as opposed to the standard 15, and that is only because the underfloor heating system we have is not actually buried into the concrete. The pipes are actually clicked into a moulded fibre board which is 18mm thick with a 10mm deep channel that the plastic pipe clips into. Hot water which comes down from the neutralizer is blended in that blending valve there, which has an adjustable control, and at the moment I've got it set on about 30 or 40, and that can be blended to suit any temperature up to about 60 Celsius. Circulating pump is that pretty much bog standard Grundfos domestic central heating pump. And looking at the manifold, The supply side is on the bottom with some flow indicators, and the return is on the top. The flow itself onto the individual circuits is controlled by the small blue cap valves that you can see there. I've got a manual setup, although those can be replaced with a solenoid, which is controlled from a remote sensor in each room. You can just see by the thermometer gauge, which is attached to the flow side of the pipe, that is now supplying hot water to the underfloor heating at around about 50 degrees Celsius.